All right, here we go. Let's finish up the Greeks with some lesson two. And we're going to be looking at the ancient Greek culture and the legacy that they left behind. So, all things Greek being mentioned. So, as always, we're listening for the impact of culture on other societies. You could look at the practice and the customs that they left behind as well. Either way, as long as you recognize it as culture, we're all good in the hood. So, as always, causes and effects are going to be the simple thing here. So, make sure you're seeing how this is a domino effect of stuff, would be a good way of saying it. All right, so here we go. So, where we last left off, we talked about a bunch of wars that the Greeks went through. And again, I was kind of talking about how the outcome of wars led culture to happen. So, here we go. So, the following the Persian War, so that first war where the Athenians and the Spartans had to come together and fight off the Persian Empire. After the Greeks won, Athens emerged as the most dominant city state. And that's what's going to set off what's known as the golden age of culture. And you're going to notice that art, architecture, drama, philosophy, history, you can throw in science, you can throw in math, you can throw in a lot of different things. That's all going to be able to happen because of this victory. So again, all things today is because that war happened or that war was won. So going into the first question, the victory in the Persian War allowed which? All right, so the Athenian art and architecture. So when you look at the Athenian architecture, it all had a purpose. Okay, so first let's soak it in. This is called the Parthenon. This was built for to honor one of their goddesses, Athena. So the reason why or the purpose why this is still around is because it was very well made. Okay, so they built this to actually please the gods. They built this to make sure that they were happy because they kind of had the thought of if their gods were happy, then life would be easy for them. So, again, that's kind of why they did what they did. It was to honor their gods. So, again, how is this so well made? Is that these things, these columns, are actually pretty solid. Now, you can kind of see right here that each one of these is just a small chunk, and they figured out how to stack them on top of each other. But this is a heavy, heavy rock. So, anyways, you might have seen this. This was in Wonder Woman 1, if I remember right. And they've or maybe it was Wonder Woman 2, I can't remember. But anyways, that was kind of featured there. And you all the while, that rock was also made to make certain types of art. So you'll notice that they wanted to capture the ideal beauty, not realism. So what does that mean in simple terms? They want to capture what everybody should look like, not what they really look like. So, for example, I look in the mirror, I see a 220-pound person. Okay. Am I really 220 pounds? I'll let you be the judge. But, anyways, there's no emotion. And if you were to zoom in on this, there is a blank face. No muscles or in their face are contracting. There's no eyes and anything like that. So, all this has a term, and it's called classical art. Okay. You can read all that fancy stuff there. But again, this stuff is still around, and this is actually going to help kickstart the Renaissance. So, stuff like this doesn't just go away. It might break up a little bit, but it's all good. In the big picture is going to be there. But the Renaissance doesn't come around for another, 1,000-ish years, 1,500-ish years from this point. So when you go into the other side of culture, of the arts, if you will, the plays and the stories and so on and so forth, the Greeks were really ahead of their game. They designed amphitheaters. So what does that mean? Somebody down here in the center can talk in a normal voice, and their voice is going to carry all the way to the top here. So why does this matter? Is that everybody can hear exactly what is going on. So that is kind of cool. And they're leading in different plays types, tragedies and comedies. So tragedies, they're all about learning a lesson or a moral, if you will. And then the comedies are more of a slapstick or crude. So meaning, let's see, what would be an example? Well, if you've ever seen like Super Troopers or something like that, they're just going to poke fun at each other, is basically what it's all about. But again, it all happens inside this bowl type thing. And this is what most modern stadiums are actually built after. Okay, if you go into the Betplex, not Betplex, the pack that we have here at the high school, it's kind of looks like that in a way. And all these masks would help them capture the emotion in the acting moment. But girls weren't allowed to act, it was only dudes. So here's my second question. Athenian sculptures were missing what? and getting into their history and the philosophy. Now, obviously, this is something that's near and dear to me because I'm a history nerd and I'm an education guy, but they believed in studying history, okay? Kind of talking about like have them understand their present or learn from their past. And that's kind of why we still study history today, to make sure that we don't make the same mistake. But following the Persian War, excuse me, the Peloponnesian War, excuse me, the Peloponnesian War, where the Spartans attacked the Athenians, that's going to shake up everything inside the Athenian culture. You're going to notice that the philosophers that I mentioned last time, Socrates, that's what's going to really start kickstarting their thinking. Talking about they're going to question their democracy, their beloved democracy, and question their gods. And as you can imagine, what I talked about before about how they did things to please the gods, when they're openly questioning the gods, the religion, people aren't going to like it. So, most notable, like I said before, is Socrates. He is going to be the OG of philosophers. He's going to be the one that's really going to set the standard, I guess you would say. So, his goal was to encourage reflection. So, meaning you live your day, give yourself, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and think about what you do that was good, what would you do that you could improve on, and then how are you going to attack tomorrow. Okay, he was talking about how you can question your own life to increase the output of your life, live it to your full potential in a way. And he put a huge emphasis on just ethics, morality, and reflection. Okay, so big things here, high integrity. So the major thing that's going to be kind of the question mark around Socrates is he did not write anything down. So all this survives is through his students, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, and most notably Plato. So he wrote a bunch of stuff down of how Socrates would actually respond. But more about Socrates and more about the Greek culture. Again, he would openly question people out in public. And when you do this, you're going to make a lot of enemies no matter what time period you're in. But he really valued the honor above anything else. Okay, so you can see the list here with other things. But he basically said that if you are living to get noticed, you're not living up to your full integrity type of thing. And he just could not stand that. He would not be successful in today's time of TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff. And he actually called out the wrong person as a member of the government, and they actually sentenced him to death. And here's like the really cool thing about it. They gave him a chance to apologize, and he's like, no, I'd rather kill myself instead. It's like, holy cow. But to give you an idea, when he emphasized reflection, he said the unexamined life is not worth living. Meaning, if you don't get better from day to day, then what's the point? So that leads me to my next question. Socrates' goal in his philosophy was human what? All right, so here is how Socrates' words are still going to be around today. So obviously, we just got done talking about him, but he is going to have a student, and his name is Plato. Now, notice how I'm not saying Play-Doh, I'm playing Plato. So, also a philosopher, and again, just a student, and then he, in turn, taught somebody else named Aristotle. He is going to be the kind of the second to last link in the chain. He also a philosopher, also a teacher, who basically found a way to record and basically keep all the knowledge alive. But both of them in their own right are actually going to make improvements to education. So Plato up here is going to be really big in math. Okay, so why that matters is that he's going to find one of the first schools. And then down here, his student Aristotle is going to be big in the sciences, if you will, if you would. He's really one of the first modern scientists. He's the reason why anatomy was as far along as it was. He would actually cut open animals, and he basically would say this is how the body works, except for there's a major flaw. He never cut into human bodies. He just assumed that animals and human beings were wired the same when they really weren't. Okay, it was kind of against the gods to dissect people during the time, although they did peek around in people that lost in wars, if you will. But again, here they are. If you need to pause and look at it, you can. But here's really the main reason why I'm talking about these three is because the last person, Aristotle, is going to have a student named Alexander the Great. He's a prince, so therefore his king can afford the biggest and the best. And he's going to be educated by Aristotle, Well, he's going to grow up and he's going to become a very, very good military general. And he's actually going to take over a large portion of what's known as Asia Minor, which I'll show you on a map here in a little bit. But, anyways, when he takes over people, he is going to spread the Greek culture. And his kingdom got to be so big that the culture just had to stick around for a long time. And what made it even better is that he actually blended it with the people that he took over. Now, sadly, he didn't stick around very long. He died of malaria, best guess, at the age of 33, but the culture stuck around. So here's a map of Asia Minor. So here is Turkey, to give you an idea. Italy is just right over here. And then down here is Egypt. So if that gives you, and obviously you can see India, but if that gives you any idea, this was most of the known world during the time. So he was way, way ahead. And the Greek culture went all to this area, which almost assumed that it was going to basically like stick around for a while. So here is a great chart to study. So these are the things that are going to be around because of the Greeks. So up here you have the Olympics if you're a sports nut, the philosophers if you're one of them, science, you're going to look at the whole idea of math, geometry, physics, I guess more astronomy, I guess you're going to go that way. But big here, big a deal here. They said the Earth was at the center of the universe. That's going to be a problem in later learning. The arts, and so take your pick from there. But then the government, again, democracy, the idea that people should be in charge of their own fate. So, question, Greek culture was spread because of military action by whom?